Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to take a deep dive into one of the most talked about and symbolic events of the war in Ukraine, the strike on the Crimean Bridge. This bridge is not just a piece of infrastructure, it is a major artery of supply and a political symbol for Russia. By striking it, Ukraine has made a statement that resonates far beyond the battlefield. To explain this event clearly, we will analyze it the same way we often analyze a product or a car review, looking at the exterior, the interior, the performance, the safety features, the unique selling points, the price, and finally the overall conclusion of what this means for the war and for the future. From the outside, the exterior of the Crimean Bridge has always been striking. Spanning nearly 19 kilometers across the Kerch Strait, it connects mainland Russia to the Crimean Peninsula, which Moscow annexed back in 2014. The exterior was built to look invincible, a strong concrete and steel construction rising out of the water like a monument to Russian power. For years it stood not only as a transport link but as a symbol of control. When you saw it from above, you could imagine endless flows of vehicles and trains carrying everything from civilians to weapons. But when the strike came, the exterior image changed overnight. Flames, smoke, shattered pavement, and twisted metal painted a very different picture. What was once a showpiece of Russian engineering suddenly looked fragile, vulnerable, and damaged. The image of the bridge in flames spread across the world, instantly reshaping perceptions of Russia's grip on Crimea. The interior of the bridge, though less visible, is where its true importance lies. On the surface it looks like lanes of asphalt and train tracks, but in reality, it is the lifeline carrying supplies, fuel, food, ammunition, and military equipment to Russian forces in occupied southern Ukraine. Every truck that crossed that bridge was a part of the Russian war machine. When Ukraine struck, it wasn't just concrete and steel that took the damage, it was the flow of lifeblood to Russia's military. Inside the logistics, the bridge plays a role that is far more significant than its appearance, and that is what Ukraine targeted. In just a short strike, they cut into Russia's ability to sustain operations, creating stress and delays for supply chains that are vital to keeping their troops effective in battle. When it comes to performance, the bridge was designed to handle huge loads and constant traffic. It carried both civilian vehicles and trains loaded with fuel and heavy weapons. Its performance as a logistical hub was impressive, and for years it allowed Russia to maintain a steady stream of supplies into Crimea and southern Ukraine. But the Ukrainian strike revealed the limits of that performance. Despite being heavily guarded, despite all of Russia's investments in keeping it secure, the bridge could not perform its most critical function when it was struck. In fact, its performance as a reliable supply line has now been shattered. From Ukraine's side, however, the performance of the operation was brilliant. With precision, timing, and planning, they managed to hit a target that Russia had labeled untouchable. It proved that no matter how large or impressive the infrastructure may be, performance in war depends on vulnerability, and Ukraine exposed that vulnerability completely. Safety features were another aspect Russia prided itself on. They had installed air defense systems, naval patrols in the Strait, electronic jamming devices, and even trained special units to defend the bridge. The narrative was that this structure was secure against any attack, whether from the air, the sea, or the land. But safety is only as strong as the weakest link. Ukraine demonstrated that no safety system is perfect. Whether by drones, missiles, or a combination of tactics, the attack penetrated those defenses and ignited the structure. This showed the world that Russian protective measures are not foolproof. On the flip side, Ukraine's approach to safety in carrying out the strike minimized risks. They avoided direct large-scale confrontation and instead used precision methods that kept their forces safe while still landing a heavy blow. The contrast between Russia's failed safety systems and Ukraine's successful planning could not be clearer. Now we look at the unique selling points of this event, the factors that make it stand out among all the battles and strikes in this war. First, the symbolic value cannot be ignored. Russia built this bridge after annexing Crimea to show that Crimea was forever linked to Russia. By striking it, Ukraine reminded the world that Crimea is still contested and that Russia's claims are not as solid as the concrete pillars holding up that bridge. Second, the strike had a psychological effect. Russian citizens who once saw the bridge as untouchable now saw it in flames, which created doubt and fear about the safety of their infrastructure. Third, the attack has a practical selling point for Ukraine's strategy. Disrupting the flow of Russian supplies puts pressure on troops fighting in Kherson, Zaporizhia, and beyond. Lastly, this event strengthens Ukraine's position in the eyes of allies. It demonstrates innovation, boldness, and effectiveness, encouraging continued support from the West. When it comes to price, the calculation is not only about money but about costs in every sense. Russia spent billions of dollars building the Crimean Bridge. They invested heavily in protecting it and maintaining it. Now, every strike or repair adds to that cost. The economic burden is huge, but the military price is even bigger. With every day that the bridge is damaged or threatened, Russian supply chains are stretched, and fuel and ammunition deliveries become more complicated. Ukraine, on the other hand, paid a fraction of that cost to deliver the strike. The drones or missiles they used are far cheaper than the damage inflicted. The price Russia pays for repair, reinforcement, and rerouting supplies will continue to mount, while Ukraine achieves a disproportionate return on their investment. In war, asymmetry like this is crucial. It shows how a smaller force can inflict damage that outweighs its resources. As we wrap this up, the conclusion is clear. Ukraine's bold strike on the Crimean Bridge was more than just an explosion on a structure. It was a calculated message to Russia, to the world, and to Ukrainians themselves. The exterior showed Russia's pride literally burning, the interior revealed disrupted supply lines, the performance proved that massive infrastructure can fail under pressure, and the safety features turned out to be illusions. The unique selling points include symbolism, psychology, and strategic disruption. The price of this strike is heavily tilted against Russia, both economically and militarily. For Ukraine, it is a moment of strength, proof that boldness can challenge even the largest opponent. Whether or not the supply line is permanently cut off, the damage has already been done to Russia's image and to its ability to project control. The Crimean Bridge may still stand, but the flames have already left a scar that cannot be erased. This is why Ukraine's strike will be remembered not only as a tactical move but as a turning point in the wider struggle for control and survival.